My final guest tonight is one of the great teachers of our time on television. No one's done more to make us aware of the world we live in. Maybe his greatest achievement is at a time when many despair at what we see on television, he reminds us what a powerful good it can be. His latest project is called Saving Planet Earth, and here he explains the challenges that face us all in the future. Welcome, please, to David Attenborough. I know it's a word you hate, you're a star.
Not a celebrity, it's a proper star, yeah.
So tell us about this latest project, because the question you pose there is a very important question about how do we share the Earth with the natural world.
Well, it's the first programme in a big campaign that runs over 2 weeks by the BBC, which examines individual species problems, and so celebrities, if I may use the word, such as yourself, are going out, and each will do one programme to look at different animals, orangutan, crocodiles, all sorts of things.
Yes.
And I am doing a programme at the beginning to look at the sort of global picture.
Now, in all the years that you've been travelling the world and looking at, observing the world that we live in, did you have any idea that this was coming upon us, this situation of global warming?
No, I mean, 50 years ago, I don't think anybody thought that there was a real crisis. Really far-seeing people like Peter Scott, for example, started a fund called the Worldwide Fund for Nature, as it's now called. And there were quite a lot of people who thought, oh, there's just sort of cranks, you know. They like butterflies and they let them do their stuff. And then, after about 10 years, naturalists themselves began to realise that these animals are important in themselves, but they actually have an even bigger importance because they're like bits of litmus paper. They are indications of what is happening and what's going wrong with whole ecosystems. Yeah. And that went on for perhaps another 10 to 15 years. But within the last 5 or 10 years, we've now realised that this is a global problem.
Yes.
And that it affects not just tigers, not just butterflies, not just gorillas, but actually the whole of humanity itself.
Yes.
Because if the planet becomes unhealthy, we suffer as well.
But, I mean, we're all aware now of the debate about how we might help, but we can't all stop going in aeroplanes, we can't all stop the bad habits of a lifetime. So, I mean, what's the message to people, and what should they do?
Well, there are two things. The first thing is that we are, out of sheer lack of knowledge, we are incredibly wasteful. I mean, we waste food, we waste energy, we waste all sorts of things. And we can no longer afford to be wasteful. That's one thing. And if we just cut out that waste, if we didn't use huge motor cars that are much bigger than we need, if we didn't leave our lights on all night because it was too much of a labour to turn it off, if you didn't waste food, you know, which we throw away a great deal of, if we didn't insist on the vast amount of packagings which we got, all those sort of things, and lived in a more decent and economic way, that would be one thing. But secondly, we have to give democratic strength to our politicians to go there and argue about the future of the planet for our sake, for our children's sake, for our grandchildren's sake. And the fact is that politicians tend to say, what is this problem? What's going to give me a vote over the next 3 or 4 years? Can I show an improvement? Can I make this? And if someone comes along and says, look, I want you to take an unpopular decision, which is going to have no effect until another 30 years hence, because that's a serious problem, 30 years hence, we want you to do that, and it'll cost you votes, because it'll be unpopular.
But David, let's consider the other problem too, which is the habitat, which is being destroyed, the rainforests and things like that. explain to us just, I mean, we all know that it's a bad thing, but why is it a bad thing? I mean, what happens when you destroy an acre of a rainforest?
Well, there are two levels, really. The first is a selfish level. Rainforests are a key factor in the Earth's climate. An enormous amount of water vapor comes up from the Amazonian rainforest, for example. And that is key in the climate which we have known and become accustomed to and have lived in for generations. If you destroy that, you will disrupt that, and you will get huge claims of climate. There will be more extreme climates, very difficult to predict, heaven knows, but that will be certainly one of the things.
Yes.
But the second thing is that forest had a peculiar kind of ecosystem. Unlike a European forest, all the fertility is in the forest itself. The land itself is quite poor. And so what you will actually do when you cut it down, if you cut it down, A, for the timber, or B, in order to grow oil palms or something like that, that will only last a short period, and you will be left with a desert. Now, that's a gross extravagance and waste of the Earth's resources. And finally, there's one more thing, which is perhaps more difficult to talk about, but it is a moral thing. The planet, we assume, belongs to us. It does not. There is a vast number of species on this planet. We share it with them. We are, it is true, dependent upon many of them for our health and for our wealth. But actually it belongs to them too, and they too have a right to live.